The waiting stretched into minutes as the dropships got closer. Murlong's heart sank as he realized they weren't the right shape, and he couldn't hear the distinctive whine of Clarence dropships. But they clearly weren't Gthunkelchai either. Who was coming? After what seemed like an eternity of waiting and guessing, the drop pod, slammed into the ground. Its doors flew off, propelled by explosive bolts. Dark bipedal shapes fanned out, guns raised. They relaxed slightly when they saw the distinctive forms of Clarence soldiers. Colonel Robert Gilder, 45th Regiment, Core Systems of Earth Marines. The human saluted. He was the only soldier not carrying a long gun, just a blaster on his hip. "We're the reinforcements. Who's the commanding officer here?" Murlong watched as the human walked off with his commander. He didn't know how to feel. He was excited to be reinforced, of course, but what good would that do? How useful were these humans? They had brought ballistic weapons, outdated ones it looked like. Perhaps they were a penal regiment, sent to die. He trudged over to the closest human. The soldier was digging a hole behind the energy shield. His gun lay on the ground beside him. "What are you doing here?" "Digging a foxhole, can't you see that?" "You're digging a hole behind the energy shield? What good is that?" "Shields are nice, but Earth between you and the foe is better." "Says who?" "Experience?" Murlong saw humans up and down the shield line also digging holes. "I'm Murlong, Gunnery Officer 2nd Class." Murlong shook his primary appendage in a form of greeting. "Brandon Weef, Corporal, Easy Company, 2nd Battalion, 45th CSE Marines." He barely looked up from his digging. "I don't know what that means." "It means I'm here to kill bad guys." "With that old thing?" Murlong gestured vaguely at the gun on the ground. "This old thing has probably killed more people than your fancy energy weapons, I'd bet. LT Kluwer says one side in Earth's First World War tried to ban this kind of gun, called it a war crime stick. Sure. I hope it works out for you." Murlong didn't know how to handle this human, so he beat a hasty retreat to his post. Barely an hour later, systems detected a mass of Gthunkelchai APCs approaching. Tank battles were not a Gthunkelchai strong suit. APCs got the warriors in close, where they could close for the kill. Their main weapon was a laser, useless against enemy armor, but extremely effective against the energy shield. The average Gthunkelchai warrior was more than a match for enemy armor, so committing tanks to this fight would just be a waste of lives. Better to drop the shields and try blast the APCs before they closed. The Sector CO highlighted the lead Gthunkelchai APC for targeting. Tough vehicles, but maybe concentrated fire could bring it down. Murlong ensured his anti-air battery was on ground fire mode, and opened fire. The Gthunkelchai APCs were practically on the front line now. Murlong counted 5 wrecked APCs, up to 60 dead Gthunkelchai warriors. A noble effort. Then again, the attack on this sector consisted of over 300 APCs, while over 3,500 Gthunkelchai were about to flood into the sector. Facing them, 1,071 Schlernke Planetary Defense Forces, far from elite soldiers, and a regiment of human marines. Murlong had been told they numbered about 2,000. Well, at least death by monomolecular blade is supposed to be pretty quick. The enemy was too close to friendly lines to engage with heavy artillery now. Murlong powered down his anti-air battery and set the dead man's switch. If he died or flickered the switch, the battery would self-destruct. That way, at least the Gthunkelchai wouldn't be able to use it. Maybe it might even take 1 or 2 of them with it. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Go into the afterlife and get to claim 1 or 2 of the galaxy's best warriors. Might even be enough to make his father proud of his line of work. Murlong double-checked the systems on his blaster. The plasma weapon wasn't likely to be extremely useful, but if he caught a Gthunkelchai off guard, maybe he could get a killing shot in. Definitely more useful than whatever those humans were using. Murlong looked over to the humans, hiding in their holes. No, not holes. A whole trench system. That's actually pretty impressive. It looked like an officer was addressing the troops. Murlong strained to hear what was being said. "What makes the grass grow?" the human yelled. Blood makes the grass grow. Kill, 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 his troops shouted back. Oh. Okay. The first rank of Gthenkelchai APCs started to disgorge their contents. Looked like a few hundred warriors in the first wave. Devil dogs! The humans popped their upper halves over their trenches, taking aim with their guns. As the Gthenkelchai warriors closed, Murlonk waited for them to fire. Why weren't they firing? They're wasting precious time. Murlonk held his breath. These poor humans were going to get slaughtered. Why weren't the firing? Just as the Gthenkelchi were about to reach melee range, the humans began fire. To Murlonk's surprise, there was no pinging shriek of deflected and blocked bullets. Instead, he watched in shock as Gthenkelchi appeared to explode in showers of chitinous bits. Barely any of them actually made it into the trenches. When they did, the Marines pulled back and continued to hammer at them with the primitive-looking weapons. Just what the hell were these humans using? Combat lasted barely 10 minutes before the Gthenkelchi retreated. Dozens of APCs littered the battlefield, unharmed but with no one to pilot them. At the end of the day, the Gthenkelchi dead count was over 800. Over half of the attacking force. A few dozen humans had been killed, and another few hundred had been wounded. Most of them were missing limbs from near misses by monomolecular swords. Murlonk didn't think he could survive a hit like that. No Chlurk had been killed. Murlonk hunted down Corporal Wafy. The cranky man was leaning against a rock, breathing through some sort of lit tube. What the hell kind of weapon are you using? I thought nothing could get through a Gthenkelchi shield. This? It's just a 12-gauge shotgun, loaded with double-aught buck. Command says they can deflect bullets, but Betty here puts out 9 pellets at once. Can I have one? Sure, we brought another 3 million down with us. I'll show you the supply dump.